forget to like and subscribe. Good day and welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, it's with great pleasure that we introduce our next guest. With a career spanning decades and a remarkable array of roles across the theatrical spectrum, his journey into the world of performance began with a transformative portrayal of Fagin in a 1985 musical rendition of Oliver. His artistic odyssey has since taken him to stages across Canada where he has demonstrated his versatility. From his early involvement in traveling musical with repertoire theater during his high school years, his tenacious pursuit of film and television roles in the midst of dedicating teaching career, his passion for acting, and his unwavering. His audacity paid dividends, yielding 6 roles and 10 auditions, including 2 notable independent feature films. He was not only a cornerstone of community theater company, but also dedicated himself to honing his voiceover craft, leaving an indelible mark with a handful of record commercials. Beyond the footlights, his creativity blossomed as he crafted bespoken murder mysteries, showcasing his prowess as a writer coach and earning the admiration of esteemed clients. Recognizing that a move to Vancouver was imperative for a thriving career in film and television, he exhibited remarkable resolve, culminating in an impressive resume featuring roles in acclaimed productions such as The Killing and 50 Shades of Grey. His dedication to lifelong learning is a testament to his unwavering commitment to excellence as he continues to refine his craft through rigorous training in acting, voiceover, and commercial instruction. His remarkable journey is a testament to the transformative power of passion, determination, and unyielding pursuit of artistic excellence. From teaching children and being in charge of juice boxes to teaching prisoners, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the amazing and the wonderfully talented Kirt Purdy. Thank you so much, Kirt, for your time, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Chris. It's my pleasure to be here.
Kirt, I want to dive into this with you because it's such a neat story. You went from teaching children and being in charge of juice boxes for kids to going right to teaching in a federal prison. Walk me through that. How did that happen?
That's a little bit of an artistic license I used, which we'll dive into later. I was actually in charge of the special needs program at a school in Alberta. And my wife and I, we're both very much, you only live once, and got a chance to do auditions for some American producers. Just I got cold called and they were doing a talent show down in Vegas. And my wife said, "Hey, go for it." So I went down to Vegas for 4 days. I had to do a monologue and walk on the modeling runway and everything. It was really great. And I got a couple of callbacks. One from a producer who did like Bad Boys, and he really liked what I did. He did Pirates of the Caribbean as well. And then through that, I got another call back that ended up getting me an agent in Calgary. I was living in Edmonton at the time, or close to Edmonton. And we were told, "Hey, if you want to do this, you can't live here. You got to go to Toronto or Vancouver." And my wife and I kind of flipped a coin a little bit, but I had lived in Toronto before, and I said, "Hey, I've never lived in Vancouver." So we came down to Vancouver, and here we are.
That's amazing. And if I remember correctly, you're still wearing your Maple Leafs jersey too. I'll throw that
I,
out
I
there.
am. I am. There you go. There you go. To the grave.
So you actually have a show, or you're trying to get a show about your time teaching in prison.
Yeah, that's correct, Chris. It's called Chalkboard Prison, and there's actually a website I have up, and it's called chalkboardprison.com. And Chalkboard Prison is what we called school when we were kids, because that's what it felt like to us. You know, you'd have 3 walls with chalkboards, one with windows, and they didn't care. They didn't want us looking out the windows. You had to look at the chalkboard, and so we felt a little trapped. Um, and when I went to actual prison as a teacher, prison changes a man, I'll tell you that. But when I went, I realized there are so many similarities because the students that you have out in a typical school and the students that you have in a federal institution have the same needs. They need someone to inspire them. They need someone to trust them, and they need someone willing to not just see them as a one-dimensional being, but someone who can experience other things than what they might be labeled as. And I was a horrible student my entire educational career. I was really, really bright in elementary school. I was always one of the top students academically, but I was always getting detention for screwing around in class. So I was misbehaving all the time and almost got kicked out of boarding school in grade 11. I was a rotten student, and my grades weren't that good in high school either. I had somehow lost the the love of studying. And so when I have students in a federal, penitentiary, they get hard with that kind of a brush where, oh, you did a bad thing, therefore you're a bad person, therefore you must be a bad student. It's like I don't like that.
So how did you get involved in teaching if you didn't have a love and passion for it when you were going through that, and you wound up as a teacher? So
Yeah.
how did that part happen? What was that transition for?
Yeah, yeah. Oddly enough, when I was on that repertoire theater company that you were talking about, we'd go around and we'd introduce ourselves and say what our goal was. And I actually did say someday I want to be a high school teacher, but my grades were so poor, I had no money. It was a pipe dream.
Mhm.
And then, oddly enough, I got married. 4 years later, we bought a house, we had a kid, and I said, "Hey, now's a good time to go to university." So my poor shift working wife, she was a 911 operator. She's going to do that. Well, I go to school, and we, look after our son as best we could, and so I was able to cram my whole degree into 3.5 years by taking spring and summer courses and some correspondence. Um,
That's amazing.
yeah, I had great teachers. Please don't mistake my poor output for for a disdain for my instructors. It was I enjoy learning. I am a lifelong learner. There's no doubt about it. And even today, I'm learning stuff. I teach psychology, and I'm digging deeper so that I can understand it more fully and help kids when they have deeper questions. So I don't shy away from new learning. I I fail sometimes, but don't care. Just pick up, keep going.
So walk me through this pivotal moment in your life. You were doing these musicals, you were traveling across Canada, performing in theater. Hey, now's the time to become a teacher. How do we look at these pivotal moments that help you influence your decision when it comes to pursuing being a teacher, for example, but also balancing being a teacher and the phenomenal actor that you are?
Well, thank you for the props. I appreciate that. I think I did my acting for a few years, and then I ended up having to get real job, as they go. And I did actually bounce from job to job because, as many people know, when you're not meant to be somewhere, but you still got bills to pay, right? So you might go take a job, but you're always looking for the other job, or is it possible to pursue my dream and still pay the bills? And so I ended up doing very small bits of theater, but anywhere I could, I'd help out. I'd direct little plays. I'd do anything I could. I'd teach kids. Anything I could do to stay connected to the art. And when I went back to university, I had to pick a minor. So I said, well, I'm going to take drama. I took a major of social studies, and I'm a huge history guy. But I did drama as a minor. And after my first little bit in drama class, I had the instructor come across and say, "You need to sign on to the BFA program." He says, "You gotta do this." He says, "You don't belong in drama. You belong in the fine arts department." He says, "You'll be a theater actor your whole life." And I said, "Well, that's great, but again, I've got a wife, I've got a newborn. These are realities that I can't shirk." Now, having said that, I still went and did community theater, and I still wrote the murder mysteries, and did all that kind of stuff. But I could decide when I was going to do those. I could say no if there's a busy season coming up. or sometime my wife won't be able to get away or won't be able to look after our son. So now, okay, now I got to be the homebody. And but being able to pick and choose, there was a great community theater in the city I was in. We did some amazing productions. Got to do some Neil Simon stuff like well, we did. I can't even think of all the stuff we did. Anna Green Gables, Barefoot in the Park, Joseph, right? A lot of the big ones too that they did, and they did a fabulous job. Little Shop of Horrors, getting involved in that. Um, and I like, you say there's these pivotal moments, and but there are many of them. There are many, many where it's not where it's a 1-8, I'm going to change my life and head for the stage, but there's an opportunity that I can now use the next 6 months to just have fun, to play, to work on my skills, to get to know other actors, to get to know other people, network a little bit. And I mean, I think you're getting the excitement that I feel for it. There's really no life like it if you love the stage. I haven't been on it much recently. I've been doing more film and television, and as similar as they are night and day in many respects. And so I find myself, if I go, I actually went to an audition. This is a couple of years ago now. Went to an audition for Sherlock Holmes, and I went in for Watson, and um, I treated it almost like a film audition. And so I stayed in the frame, as I was doing it. And then at the end, they said, "Hey, we really like what you brought, but you can move." And I went, "Oh, right." And so I dove right in, and I'm all over the place and very frenetic and everything. I didn't book it. But they said, "Hey, we're keeping you in mind for future stuff. We really like what we saw." So they have auditions right now for something, but my film agent said, "Not right now. There's stuff coming. I want you to be ready." So I said, "Okay."
It's
So
so neat that you bring that up, as when we look at, auditioning for theater and they say, okay, you got like a 50-foot stage and take up the stage to do your audition. But then when you're doing these self tapes and television and film auditions, you have a tiny box that you get to stand in and do your
yes,
best with your monologue.
exactly. So you have to bring the energy. You got to bring the passion, the commitment, the connection, and hopefully the people watching it can translate it.
So I want to dive into this little bit of a psychological moment with you when we're talking about these translating and identifying moments. How did understanding that you wanted to be a teacher and that you wanted to pursue television, film, and stage, how did that help under like that shaping of yourself? All of this experience, all of this inside out looking under yourself, how did it shape who you are today?
Honestly, Chris, it's sorry for the dead air. The way I look at it, as I say, I'm a lifelong learner, and film, TV, stage, and teaching. It's hard for me to imagine places that are more, what's the word, that you're more liable to learn in every moment. Like there's that opportunity, you're going to learn something,
Mhm.
whether I'm learning about the curriculum or the students teach me something, which happens all the time. Or if I'm going to be on stage and I'm working with a new partner, or I have an audition with a new casting director, or I have a role coming up that's of a real life person, so I've got to go do research on them before I do it. I'm always learning something new. And I find that, I get bored very quickly with a lot of things in life because it's not new. Um, it's been there, done that,
Mhm.
right? And so I think both of those feed my soul, which you gotta have, right? I'm not just going to pay the bills. I'm going to do things that really make me know that I'm doing what I'm built to do. So that keeps both oars in the water, if that metaphor comes across.
Of course.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about this, and I appreciate you sharing this with us, is there an instance that you can recall where you had to confront and overcome your own fears or insecurities while you were working on a project?
Yeah, yeah. I actually was part of a passion project, and I've just, I've been married. I'm in my 27th year of marriage in a row.
Congratulations, that's awesome.
The same woman, yeah. We're just destroying all the stats, so we feel good about that. But I got invited to do this little passion project based on a an audition that I actually just threw on YouTube. And it wasn't even an audition. That's wrong. I just read for something one day. I had taken a friend. She had to do a reading, and she was going to go film it at this person's studio. And then while they're there, I say, "Hey, do you want to read this scene?" And I'm like, "Okay." So I look at this scene, and I'm like, "Yeah, that looks like a lot of fun." So, and I'm this scumbag cop who's been doing horrible things, right? And so I'm enjoying it though, right? But it's just sick stuff. But they can't catch me, right? And I just, I show a little vulnerability, and then I stand up to the prosecutor, and it was a fun scene. So a girl who actually played my wife in a commercial, she had seen it, and then her friend, "Hey, I need somebody to play a John for this film," and she says, "Oh, get Kirt to do it." So he contacts me, and he watched it, and he said, "Hey, you seem to have the right vibe for this." So I ended up having to play a John, and so I'm hiring her, you know, at this seedy little motel, and it got to a point in the script where I was supposed to do something that I just did not want to do. Um, and so I just sat down on the side of the bed, and I asked her to sit next to me, and I said, "Look, I don't want to do this." I said, "What can we do that'll still make him happy?" But I'm not going to get a divorce by the end of this.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
fair.
you know, so she said, "No, that's fine. Thanks for letting me know." Because she thought I was going to do chapter and verse everything that was on the script. And I had even talked to the director about it beforehand, and he said, "Well, we'll kind of cross that bridge when we get to it." So we got to the bridge, and I decided not to cross it. I said, "Nah, I'm going to do this." And so we reached a compromise. One I was very happy with. One my wife didn't have a problem with,
Mm.
and we shot it, and it was a really good moment. So there was that fear that I could be screwing myself here for future work. Like if my name gets out there that I'm not willing to do what I've signed on for, that's a big fear. But I have a larger fear that if I become someone I'm not, just to get something that I really don't need, I've sold out, right? And I wasn't making millions of dollars on that or anything like that. Um, I just I just don't want to do anything that's gonna
Yeah.
stain who I am to myself. Having said that, I've played pedophiles, right? I've played I've played guys who have slept around, but they don't see anything. I've played cheats. I've played mean landlords. I've played a lot of bad guy roles. Um, but that one there was just going too far. So as far as that goes, yeah. And on stage, nothing. I've never encountered anything on stage that I've gone, "Oh, I'm not doing that." Um, Most of my stage, like I say, has been repertoire theater and then community theater. So there really wouldn't be the chance for a lot of risque, parts or roles. Yeah.
So, as we're talking about these emotional parts and exploring vulnerable parts of oneself as an actor, can you describe a role or performance that's just profoundly impacted you on that deeper emotional level? Preferably not one that was the bad guy.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah. Well, um, I think probably one that really made me realize how much fun acting can be when you just throw everything aside and you're just yourself. Was a little short film that I did, and I think I got paid a couple $100. Like it was a student film, and I'm a single dad, and my kid's lost his dog, and he's putting up these lost dog posters. He's replacing old ones as the opening scene. And I'm like, I'm done. Like, the dog's gone, kid,
Mm.
right? But I don't want to say that. I'm trying to be a nice dad. And at this time, my son was just about the age of the kid who's playing my son. And I found myself really wrestling with, how do you tell a kid a truth that they need to hear, but you have to deliver it in such a way that he knows you love him and you're looking after him. And that happened not long after when my mother passed away. She passed away a few months after. And, we went to the funeral, of course, and we brought our son. My son was 11 at the time, and the kid I was acting with was 11 or 12. So it was really close. And then here we are going to put grandma in the ground, right? And it was tough. He's my son's never seen me cry, right? I'm just trying not to cry, but good luck. And he wept. He wept, and but then he saw me looking at him while he was crying, and so he tried to stop crying. I was like, dude, why? No, it's okay. He says, no, I need to be strong. I need to be strong. I'm like, dude, no, you don't. You don't. It's okay. You're a human being, and I'm so glad you've got a heart, that you're not sitting here going, well, what's for supper or whatever. Like, you realize there's a loss that cannot be replaced. And that to me, that's, where art imitates life, right?
Mhm.
And I really thought of that, when we were at the funeral, and then afterwards, I actually thought back to the movie. I went, wow, like it really brought something to me after the fact, if that's a fair assessment.
Mhm.
I felt that on the set, and now I'm feeling it in real life. And I didn't know what that feeling was on set. It was confusing. I didn't get it. But then when it happened, it's like, oh, okay, that's loss. Okay. Because I haven't had loss like that in my life up to that point. And then boom, there's mom, right? And and then to have that conversation with my son, it just full circle. And it was a moment. It was I'd say it was a seminal moment for me about art imitating life.
I really appreciate you sharing that story with us, and I know a lot of people out there will be able to resonate with that. And unfortunately, it is something that we always have to deal with,
Hmm.
right? And it's just one of those things, but it's a very beautiful message where here's this opportunity to teach and learn and grow, and it's okay to have these moments. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to let that guard down and be who you need to be. Oh, I love that. And Kirt, when we talk about these feelings and we talk about disappointment and a version of rejection, we all know this industry is incredibly tough. How do
Hmm.
you handle this way and sea of constant, I'm going to say, rejection and disappointment that slams you every time you do an audition? You don't get it, but you thought you were perfect for it. Or, very much similar when you went for Sherlock Holmes and they said, hey, we love what you did, but we want you to move around. And then you did move
Yeah.
around and then you didn't get it. And it was like, wait a minute, you told me I was perfect. What does Kirt do? How do you deal with that on the inside of you emotionally to push forward?
Well, Chris, I'm glad you asked that question, because it's been asked of me before. And very simply this: I don't base my worth on whether or not I book something. I don't base my value on whether or not people say, we want you to come on set. Uh, no, I know I can act. I know I'm a good actor. I know I have to keep working on it. And in fact, for the next 7 to 8 weeks, I'm taking a voiceover course in Vancouver. I'm tomorrow night, every Tuesday, I'm driving in to do that. Um, and we get so many more rejections. Everybody does, even the A-listers. They've gotten more rejections in their life than they care to count. I think
Mhm.
Mark Ruffalo said he had 500 or 600 no's before he got his first yes, right? And you hear about all these stories about these A-listers who were about to give up, and then boom, here you go. Um, who was the Josh Brolin, right? That was it. He was done, and then he gets No Country for Old Men, right? It's like, huh, right? And so you and also oh, his name escapes me right now. Jim Halpert. I forget his name all of a sudden on on The Office. I can't believe I forgot his name, but he was giving up. He was on the phone with his mom saying, "That's it, I'm coming home. I can't do this." And then the next call he gets is for The Office, and he's made millions, and he's good. He's fun to watch, right? So yes, there's a lot of rejection, and sometimes I'll put an audition in, and I go, "That is the best work I can do." I feel that, and if I don't get it, I don't care. They saw what I can do, which means I'll get a call for another one later on. But sometimes I'll put stuff in and I'm not real happy with it. I'm like, I probably shouldn't have even sent that one in. That wasn't my A game. They're going to look at it and go, "Why are we calling this guy?" No, they're not that bad, but I don't feel it. I don't have that connection. So even last or 2 weeks ago, I sent one in and I got a hold of my agent and said, "I don't really like that one. Can we, can we, so I'm not even sure the casting director saw it. And other projects, I will do an amazing job. I'll go get coaching, and I'll put together this great audition. I'll shoot it, and it's perfect. It's as good as I can possibly do, and we'll send it to casting. And they've already booked it with some American, right? So it has nothing. But again, I look at that and I say, that's out of my control. My value is not tied to somebody else's opinion or whether or not I book. My value is tied to what I think I did. And I've done enough good stuff. I know what that is. And I've done enough garbage. I know what that is. And so I aim for the good. And if I'm done, great. And I move on. I used to, in full disclosure, when I first started, probably for the first year and a half, I'd send the audition in and sit there and,
Yeah.
does somebody love me? I really would. I had that approval addiction, right? But I lost that. Yeah.
Well, that's fair. And Kirt, if someone said to you, "Hey, Kirt, what's something that scares you?" What would you say?
Disappointing my wife and son. Without getting too specific, anything where they look at me and they regret that I'm a husband or father. That keeps me from making stupid mistakes. I'll tell you that.
No, I like that. That's a fabulous answer. And Kirt, what would you say people tend to misunderstand about you the most?
Okay, well, yeah, excuse me. As I've always said, I'm a lifelong learner, and I love hearing both sides of arguments. Being a history teacher, I wrote a book. You can get it on Amazon. It's called A Hoser's Guide to Canadian History, and it's a satirical look at Canada. It was rated number 4 of Canadian history books. I beat out the Fergusons on their books. I felt pretty good about that. But I like to get the full picture of something because there's 3 sides to every story, right? Yours, mine, and the truth. And so I try to mine deeply and figure out things. And I find that there's a number of teachers who only take from one side of the aisle because it's easy and there's lots of stuff on it. There's lots of news stuff they can say about it. But I find that to be closer to I don't want to say indoctrination because I don't really think that's what they're trying to do, but I think that it's a little leading.
Hmm.
And so what I'll do is I'll teach from both sides, right? So I'll give the side if you want to call them left and right. I don't always subscribe to that, but I'll teach from this side and I'll teach from this side, and then say, all right, now you're going to write me a paragraph about whose side you agree with and why. And I'm not going to grade you on whether you agree with me. And they never know what I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't tell them. All right, they have no idea what my view is on things. But they have to write a response based on this, and then back it up with what you think. And the kids get so mad because typically it's just tell us what to think and we'll regurgitate it on test day. I said, no, you're not growing then, right? Anybody can do that. So One guy, a Canadian folk hero, Louis Riel. I teach about him, and at the end, I give him the hero or villain, right? Who is this guy? And I've had, out of 30 kids, I've had 15 one way and 15 the other. And I think the biggest spread I had was 18 one way and 12 the other. So I teach as balanced as I possibly can. I watch my tone, I watch my verbiage, I watch the adjectives I use to try to show them that there's merit to both sides.
Mhm.
So what people misunderstand about me right off the bat is if they're very much one way of thinking and I bring up a contrary point, they think I'm hardcore this side. And I've lost some acquaintances over that. I won't say friends, because friends know me. They're like, yeah, that's Kirt.
Yeah.
But I've had some people, talk smack about me. And I'm like, that's okay. That just tells me you don't want to teach from both sides. Um, but I'm not scared of that. Truth does not depend on me.
No.
So I teach as many facts as we can and let the kids sort it out. And I think they'll be better citizens for it.
100%. I like that. And Kirt, I have time for one last question for you, and it's what makes Kirt smile?
uh, well, on a personal level, when my wife and son have a good day and they tell me something that went good for them that day, uh, it's always good. There's enough strife in the world. You like to hear good stuff every now and again and have some good laughs, and that's so important. But at work, the thing that makes me smile is when the student goes, "I get it." They have that eureka moment, and that's right there. Like, I don't tell my bosses this, but I'd teach for free if that happened every day. Right. If they said, we get it. Mr. Purdy, we get it. That's so cool. I finally get it. And so many times, students have said that they thank me because they're like, we never thought of it in that way. And I said, well, I didn't make you think that way. I just showed you the facts, and you thought that way because your brain is able to do it. So keep looking for opportunities, and they walk away happy and they feel wise. They feel like a grade 11 sage because they can now go tell other people. And students actually come to school. I told my parents that and they never knew it and they're so blown away. I said, awesome, you're teaching adults now, way to go. How can that not make you smile, right? So yeah.
I love that. That's fabulous. And as I said, Kirt, that was my last question for you out there. I really appreciate your time and thank you so much for coming out today. Everyone out there, remember to smile to inspire and have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for watching Coffee with Chris. Thanks again, Kirt. That has been awesome.
Thanks for the opportunity, Chris.